I'd always dreamed of retiring to a quiet ranch, far from the city's chaos. After decades as a high-powered attorney, I bought a sprawling 50-acre property in Texas, complete with rolling hills, a small creek, and a cozy cabin. The ranch was my sanctuary. No neighbors, no noise, just peace. Or so I thought. My property bordered a small gated community with a notorious HOA, led by Karen Whitmore, the self-appointed queen of rule enforcement. I'd heard stories about her from locals. She'd fine people for unapproved mailboxes or grass an inch too long. My ranch wasn't part of the HOA, but that didn't stop Karen from eyeing my land like it was her personal fiefdom. One sunny afternoon, I was fixing a fence when Karen's SUV screeched to a halt at my gate. "You can't block this path," she barked, pointing to a dirt trail on my property. "It's for community access," I raised an eyebrow. "This is my land, ma'am. No HOA rules apply here." Her face turned beet red. "We'll see about that," she snapped, storming off. I chuckled, thinking that was the end of it. Little did I know, Karen was plotting something bigger. As a retired attorney, I'd faced tougher opponents in court, but Karen's entitlement was a force of nature. I dusted off my hands and went back to my fence, unaware of the storm brewing. A week later, a certified letter arrived. Karen, on behalf of the HOA, claimed my fence violated community standards and demanded I remove it or face legal action. I laughed out loud. My ranch wasn't under HOA jurisdiction, my deed was clear. But Karen's letter cited a vague, historical easement allowing community access to the trail. I'd seen flimsy legal arguments before, but this was amateur hour. I called my old law firm buddy Tom to pull the property records. Sure enough, no easement existed. The trail was just a shortcut kids used to cut through my land. I sent a polite reply citing the deed and suggesting Karen check her facts. Big mistake. Karen didn't like being challenged. 2 days later, she showed up with a clipboard and a smug grin. "This is your last warning," she said. "Take down the fence or I'm suing." I leaned against my gate, sipping coffee. "Ma'am, I'm a retired attorney. You sure you want to play this game?" Her eyes narrowed, but she didn't back down. "You're nobody special," she sneered. "My lawyer will bury you." I smiled. Karen had no idea who she was dealing with. Back in my cabin, I dusted off my legal pads. If she wanted a fight, I'd give her one she'd never forget. The ranch was my home, and no HOA busybody was going to bully me. Karen wasn't bluffing. A month later, I was served with a lawsuit. The HOA claimed my fence obstructed a public right-of-way and sought $10,000 damages, plus an order to remove it. The complaint was a mess full of legal buzzwords, but no substance. I could have had it dismissed in a heartbeat, but I decided to have some fun. Karen thought she'd intimidate me, but she'd picked the wrong target. I filed a counterclaim, alleging harassment and requesting legal fees. As a retired attorney, I knew the game: hit hard, hit fast. I also requested discovery, demanding every HOA meeting minute and email mentioning my property. That's when things got interesting. Karen's lawyer, a nervous young guy named Greg, called to negotiate. "My client's willing to settle if you remove the fence," he said. I laughed. "Greg, tell your client to drop the suit, or I'll bury her in paperwork." He stammered and hung up. Meanwhile, Karen rallied her minions, spreading rumors I was a greedy outsider, ruining their community. Neighbors I'd never met started giving me dirty looks at the local diner. I didn't care. I'd faced corporate sharks and won. Karen was small fry. Back at the ranch, I reviewed the HOA's bylaws. They were sloppy, full of loopholes. I grinned. Karen had no idea the legal storm I was about to unleash. Discovery was a goldmine. The OS records showed Karen had been bullying homeowners for years, fining people for minor infractions, ignoring proper voting procedures, and even pocketing emergency fees for personal use. No wonder she was so bold. She ran the HOA like her personal kingdom. I also found emails where she called my ranch a blight and vowed to take it back for the community. Her obsession wasn't about the trail, it was about control. I prepared a motion to dismiss, citing the lack of an easement and the HOA's overreach. But I didn't stop there. I filed a second motion accusing Karen of abusing her authority and violating Texas HOA laws, which require open meetings and proper notice. My old paralegal, Maria, helped me organize the evidence. "This woman's unhinged," Maria said, reading Karen's emails. "She thinks she owns your ranch." I nodded. She's about to learn a lesson. Karen's lawyer, Greg, tried again to settle, offering to drop the suit if I paid $5,000. I declined, sending him a copy of my counterclaim, now amended to include defamation for Karen's rumors. The next day, Karen showed up at my gate with a megaphone, yelling about community rights. I recorded it all. If she wanted to escalate, I'd meet her blow for blow. The ranch was my home, and I wasn't backing down. Karen's antics reached new heights when she called an emergency HOA meeting to rally support against me. I got wind of it from a sympathetic neighbor, Mrs. Jenkins, who slipped me the meeting notice. Texas law requires HOA meetings to be open to all property owners, so I showed up, legal pad in hand. The room fell silent as I walked in. Karen, at the podium, looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. "You're not a member," she sputtered. "This is my land you're discussing," I replied calmly. "I have a right to be here." I sat in the back, taking notes as Karen ranted about my illegal fence and how I was stealing community access. Other homeowners looked uncomfortable. Some whispered about her overreach. I stood up during the Q&A. "Ms. Whitmore, can you show me the easement you claim exists?" The room buzzed. Karen stammered, producing a blurry map that proved nothing. I held up my deed. "This says I own the trail. Care to explain?" She turned purple but had no answer. After the meeting, a few homeowners approached me, apologizing for Karen's behavior. They were tired of her tyranny too. I handed them my card. "If you want to fight back, I can help." Back at the ranch, I prepared for court. Karen's lawsuit was crumbling, but I wasn't done exposing her. The court date arrived, and I was ready. Karen's lawyer, Greg, looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. The courtroom was packed with HOA members, curious neighbors, and even a local reporter. Karen sat at the plaintiff's table, glaring at me like I'd stolen her crown. The judge, a no-nonsense woman named Judge Harper, called the case. Greg's argument was weak, relying on the non-existent easement and community tradition. I presented my deed, property records, and a surveyor's report confirming the trail was mine. I also introduced Karen's emails showing her personal vendetta. Judge Harper raised an eyebrow. "Miss Whitmore, you sued a man for fencing his own land?" Karen mumbled something about community needs. I then laid out my counterclaim: harassment, defamation, and HOA misconduct. I cited Texas Property Code Chapter 209, which Karen's HOA had violated repeatedly. Greg tried to object, but Judge Harper shut him down. "This lawsuit is frivolous," she said. "I'm inclined to dismiss it, but I'll hear your defense." I didn't need to say much more. The evidence spoke for itself. Karen's face fell as she realized her power trip was backfiring. The judge adjourned for a week to review the documents. Outside, Karen cornered me. "This isn't over," she hissed. I smiled. "It will be." Back at the ranch, I sipped whiskey. Knowing I'd already won, Karen just didn't know it yet. The week before the judge's ruling, Karen doubled down. She posted flyers around the community, calling me a land-grabbing lawyer and urging residents to boycott my ranch. It was laughable. She didn't realize I sold my cattle privately, not to locals. But her smear campaign gave me more ammo for my defamation claim. I also learned from Mrs. Jenkins that Karen was pressuring homeowners to sign a petition supporting her lawsuit. Most refused, fed up with her bullying. I met with a group of them at the diner, sharing my evidence of Karen's financial mismanagement. "She's been skimming dues," I said, showing bank records Maria had dug up. They were furious. One homeowner, Mike, decided to run for HOA president to oust Karen. I offered to help with his campaign, drafting flyers citing her violations. Meanwhile, Greg called again, begging to settle. "Karen's offering $2,000 to end this," he sighed. I laughed. "Tell her to pay my legal fees $15,000 and counting." He groaned and hung up. Back at the ranch, I noticed tire tracks near my fence. Someone had tried to cut the wire. I installed cameras, suspecting Karen's involvement. Sure enough, footage caught her son sneaking around at night. I saved the video for court. Karen thought she could intimidate me, but she was digging her own grave. The ranch was quiet, but the storm was far from over. Judge Harper's ruling was a bloodbath for Karen. She dismissed the HOS lawsuit, calling it baseless and a waste of court resources. She granted my counterclaim, ordering the HOA to pay $20,000 in damages and legal fees. She also issued an injunction, barring Karen from contacting me or trespassing on my ranch. The courtroom buzzed as Karen stormed out, muttering about an appeal. I wasn't worried. Her case was dead in the water. The real victory came next. Judge Harper ordered an audit of the HOA's finances, citing my evidence of Karen's misconduct. The local paper ran a story. Retired attorney exposes HOA tyranny. Karen's reputation tanked. Homeowners rallied behind Mike, who won the HOA presidency in a landslide.